Russian and Chinese officials arrive at Moscow's railroad station to board the first Moscow-Peiping Express, linking the capitals of the world's two greatest communist dictatorships. Passengers must have ticket, passport, and undoubtedly a good word from the secret police for the 9-day trip on the new train, which is sure to follow the Moscow-Peiping line.
Happened during the Cultural Revolution. The number one victim of Mao's Cultural Revolution was his successor, the president of China, Liu Shaoqi. Mm-hmm. He was the one that took control of China after Mao was forced to take back seat. He tried to improve the economy, and he was very popular because people suffered so much. They want to have their life improved, and he was doing that. For that, actually, many historians believe that was his sole reason for Mao to launch his Cultural Revolution, to get rid of his first, the number one enemy.
Sure. I mean,
okay. So people kind of like him, okay? Mm-hmm. Overnight, he was demonized, and there was all sorts of propaganda posters and portray him as absolutely the evil person, the evilest you've ever seen.
He's trying to take this from you and that sort of thing.
Okay, what was his crime? Yeah. He wanted to take us back to capitalism. Oh my God, capitalism.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
People just don't know. I witnessed that overnight. He looked like a devil to me. I was a little kid. But really? Overnight, he really seriously looked like a devil to me. Just like the people indoctrinated here. Trump looked like a devil to them. They don't have to think why. They were told so, that must be so. So the Red Guard, and Mao led the Red Guard to really attack Liu Shaoqi. And I'm not saying Liu Shaoqi was a good guy. He was better than Mao, but he was a communist. And it's very telling. During his encounter with the Red Guards, he said, "Can you let me talk?" They said, "No, we won't let you talk." He said, "Well, at least I'm a citizen of this country." Well, I said, "You shut up, because you are part of the communist regime. You don't let people talk. Now you want to talk?" See, that is the problem. That is the problem of communist regime. They turned against each other, and now Liu Shaoqi wants his right to talk. It was in 1962.
Right.
Okay. And then for 4 years, looked like everything quiet down, and the people who was running the country trying to recover the economy, looked like everything was getting back to normal. Well, not really, because Mao used those years to plan the biggest comeback ever. This time it's not just a campaign. This time is a revolution. He wants to overthrow his own party, his own government, to get back his power.
Right, because he had lost control of a lot of the earlier revolutionaries, right? So, I mean, it's almost, I hate to praise the man, but it was pretty clever for him to somehow turn the anti-government protests in his favor against the rest of his enemies in the government, if I'm getting that correct, right?
That's something that people should really learn about Mao, because what's going on in America is Maoism. So Mao wanted his power back. How to do it, you know? And if he used his army, he still have control of his army. If he uses army, it looked like a coup, right? It looked kind of bad. Right. So he has better idea. He used tens of millions of kids to do the job. So it's people's will. It is the people's will to take down those ruling classes.
That's fair. They're putting everything they can into this, and they use a lot of local government resources. The American taxpayer has been used to fund his own destruction.
Right.
But look, the CCP has got big problems. But I'm also saying, like in Pennsylvania, that there's networks of pro-Chinese voter registration groups. Like in Pennsylvania, they have Pennsylvania Stands Up. Arizona, they got Lucha. Georgia, they have the New Georgia Project. Wisconsin, they have Black Leaders Organizing Communities. That's all there. And if anybody's seen Catherine Engelbrecht's movie 2000 Mules, what she identified was certain nonprofits using Black Lives Matter activists to stuff ballots in key swing states in the inner cities. I identified those same networks. She identified that through cell phone data. I identified it through following the flows of personnel from the Chinese consulate and the Chinese Progressive Association of San Francisco into this big network of voter registration organizations. But here's my prediction. The day that Trump wins, and I think it's likely that he will, I think we're going to see a resurgence of that Black Lives Matter, Antifa stuff on the streets. Plus, we've had 100,000, up to 100,000, military-aged Chinese nationals, Hezbollah, Hamas, Russians, Chechens, coming across the border. They're not coming here to go to Vegas. We could. I'm not telling people this to discourage them from voting. I think voting is the way back to a free America. But if you need medicine, get a stock. If you need food, get a stock. Get your networks organized. Make sure you know where your family is, because we could see some long periods of disruption, strikes, power outages. All of this could be coming up in a very few days' time.
And you're right. If people just look at the pattern, be prepared with, and I even tell people, like, even if you don't own a gun, buy bullets. That's great currency if you need it.
And look, and I quote in my book too, I quote a top Chinese advisor to Xi Jinping. This is what he says, we need organizations in all 435 congressional districts that can influence the politics in those districts to basically counter anti-Chinese politicians, etc., to make the US Congress an appendage of the People's Congress of China. So they've got those. But they also provide infrastructure. Will hire illegals coming across the border that will give them jobs. I've got a friend, Melissa Tooman, in Los Angeles, who's running for Congress there against Ted Lieu. And she's noticing a big influx of Chechens and Turks into Los Angeles. And they're getting accommodation They've been given accommodation, and they're all being given cars, mainly old Teslas, by the way, that they then use for making a living off rideshare, DoorDash, Grubhub, DoorDash, all this kind of thing. So they're running around Los Angeles, getting to know who's buying from all the Jewish delis, for instance. Where the preschool centers are. And she's getting messages from LA cops who are monitoring this. They're knowing we're heading for an October 7th operation.
You are absolutely 100. Have you heard?
We're heading for an October 7th operation.
You are absolutely 100. Have you heard of this happening in other states as well?
No, I've heard this specifically to do with the Los Angeles area. And as you say, the Turks seem to be honing in Los Angeles. She's also noting Chechens and recently Colombians as well. So yes, it is divided up into certain people going to certain areas.
The West Hills fire because that was started at a parking lot. It's going to come over here and light up this area.
Oh my gosh. No, this is crazy. I can't even believe it because I'm like
a 30-year-old guy,
crazy because I'm like, how does a fire jump literal cities?
I know it. I can understand there, but all the way over.
Exactly. That doesn't make any sense. Okay. Thanks for letting me know, guys.
Yeah.
Maybe burning down? I'll spare you. She's on a plane, and I said, do you want me to go to your house and get stuff out, like things that you can't replace? I'll go right now, even though the area is evacuated. She wrote back, you can't get in. Topanga's barricaded. The back way we use is being guarded by fire trucks now because some of the neighbors caught a guy setting more fires on the back of our hill. They chased him away. They called 911. I think they caught the guy recently in Woodland Hills trying.
Indivisible has now, in March, launched a new campaign targeting 18 Republican members of Congress, including Mike Lawler, who represent districts that President Biden won in the 2020 election. So they are Republican members, but their district voted for Biden. The reason those 18 are being targeted by Indivisible in this new campaign is because, practical as ever, Indivisible believes that that's the start of the road for Democrats to take back the House in 2024. You start with picking off those 18 and you move on from there.
Well, I would like to see us retake the House, hold the Senate, hold the presidency, reform the filibuster, codify Roe, pass democracy reform. That's my North Star. That's the North Star of Indivisible's all throughout the country. The theory is exactly as you laid out. We are not going to take every single one of the 435 House districts in 2024. That's not the pathway to victory. The pathway to victory is where is the low-hanging fruit? And it turns out, just as you said, there are 18 Republican members of Congress who represent districts that Biden won in 2020.
Ezra Levin, co-founder of Indivisible, as always, doing some of the most practical, strategically interesting organizing in the country. Thanks for being with us again, Ezra. It's nice to see you.
They're melting down because they know the gravy train's over. But more acutely, Steve, when we first started covering the resistance, when I put together that montage of the 6-hour phone call that I watched, who put that phone call together? It was Indivisible. That was one of the leading voices. That guy is who Rachel Maddow has always had on as sort of the point person when it comes to discussing anything resistance related. And you're so right. They're culturally appropriating the war room in terms of their lobbying tactics. But I want to get really granular for a second on the lawsuits. There are 2 that have been brought against President Trump, the DOJ, for what they're trying to do over at the FBI. One of them is coming from some far left. It's called the Center for Employment Justice. You can imagine what their politics are, but you don't have to imagine that much because the chief attorney listed on the case is a former Democratic Senate candidate. But I want to flag, we're all about receipts here in the war room. I guess we're all about opposition research too. This lady, an individual, the attorney by the name of Pam Keith, has been out tweeting for years during the Biden regime about how every single MAGA member of the Fed, January 6th and last point, President Trump's decision to fire them, or at least have them answer a survey about their actions related to January 6th. And last point, the second lawsuit that they've brought, which is coming from a group representing, they say, FBI agents. This is a group that came under fire for giving out, I believe, $1,000 gift cards to agents who bent the knee to the BLM mob. This is a group that lobbies every government shutdown to try to get FBI agents paid. And funnily enough, they lobbied to keep Wray in place. So they're a bunch of political partisan hacks, and I think that that's just what we need to remember. These lawsuits that are coming out, it's basically just the new form, albeit watered down because they have no power, but of the impeachment that would have been if they had any semblance of power. But instead, they're relegated to activist types like Indivisible, like these far-left NGOs, going and crying on MSNBC.
Play it again.
Yeah.
No, keep going. I want to go. Okay, here's what I want to do. If let's play this for a second. Go ahead.
Known to you, what are you watching for in their actions that you think might really make a difference?
It sounds good, Rachel, and I will say I think we are in a much better place right now with Senate Democratic leadership and the Senate Democratic caucus than we were a week ago. That said, today, 22 Democrats voted for another Trump.
What I want you to see there, we'll put it up on the is he's got the bomber. He's going full 12 o'clock high. He's got the little bomber. This pencil neck's got a little bomber jacket on, right? Well, just go get a barber.
You're quite
okay?
stylish,
Steve. He's trying to be great.
People want to be you.
He's trying to be great. No, he's trying to be Gregory Peck. Okay, hey Ezra, right here. This is called a man. That's a man. That's Gregory Peck in 12 o'clock high. That's not you. Okay, it doesn't. The look is not working. That being said, these guys they're going to do something. I can tell you. This is where the resistance is going to come from. They're the rally point because the Democrats are shattered. How dangerous is this indivisible? And we got to put stink eye on them, ma'am.
Well, the Washington Post, one of the reporters just quote tweeted me saying that I need to find better mentors. But I would say, hey, the tip of the spear of your resistance is trying to culturally appropriate Steve Bannon. So I think I have a pretty good one. But look, I have read all of Indivisible's, kind of casework, their blueprints of how to plot the resistance. These people are extremely organized, down to the point where they have itemized tables of how to best lobby and, intimidate, basically peer pressure your lawmakers on your phone calls. They've advocated for all of their members to write op-eds, specifically in local papers, because they have more traction. They're setting up town hall type meetings across the country, and hundreds of thousands of people showed up to those kind of mass mobilization calls that I watched, that I tracked. So these people are extremely, extremely engaged. But I think the more nefarious kind of angle to what Indivisible has done, which is part of that group Democracy Forward that we were talking about yesterday, is just the idea that they want to weaponize career civil servants and effectively turn them into, for lack of a better word, embeds, right? Exposing the Trump administration. And that's why they're melting down so heavily about these people being removed from the building, because they can't be whistleblowers if they're not proximal to President Trump. So that's sort of the crux of it. And that's why they're melting down. And last point, Steve, what was Rachel Maddow's monologue about yesterday entirely? I guess now it was 2 days ago, on Monday, the same day that USAID is getting crippled, she's begging, groveling, and imploring her audience to donate and support independent media, civil society groups like Indivisible, because they know that gravy train's ending.
Fabulous. You're on it. You're on watch, and you're now doing it from the White House. Social media, where do they get you, Natalie?
Natalie Jewenters on all platforms. I will see you at 5 from the White House. I like saying
Better mentors. Wow. Guys they're getting personal now.
We are going to fight it legislatively. We are going to fight it in the courts. And we're going to fight it in the streets. As was demonstrated this week, House Democrats, Senate Democrats, Democratic governors, and everyday Americans all across the country rose up in defiance as it relates to the illegal, unlawful, and extreme federal funding freeze that is part of the Republican rip-off agenda. We fought it, we stopped it, and we will never surrender.
Say no today The RevCom Corps for the Emancipation of Humanity calls out to all decent and justice-loving people. Now is not the time to settle in, normalize, and learn to live with fascism. Now is the time to resist, inspire, galvanize, and mobilize to refuse to accept a fascist America in the name of humanity. Now, to defend the rights and lives of people in the crosshairs now, before this fascism is fully consolidated and able to carry forward its aims. Now, with the determination and the goal to move the tens of millions in this country who hate and detest this fascism to stand up and create such a profound political crisis in society that Trump cannot govern the country and implement his fascist program. In the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America. Today, the RevCom Corps for the Emancipation of Humanity calls to everyone who hungers for a world without oppression, exploitation, poverty, and destruction of the environment. Everyone who has the heart to fight for something that is really worth fighting for. You need to become part of this revolution now.
Was interested in the power of the state to take people's resources and redistribute them, and that really is what's been going on for most of our adult lives.
And it's also important to note that this progressive, left-leaning, like radical left arm of the government, of the country, was manufactured.
Yes.
It's all manufactured. It's all manufactured and supported. It's not organic, which is really fascinating about the other side, because the other side, the reaction to it is organic. Like, say what you want about the Trump administration and what you think about him. That was an organic shift where people were like, enough.
Well, good evening and welcome to Investigate Everything. I am Brian O'Shea, your host. Good to see you all again. It's been a minute. What is the point of tonight's show? The point of tonight's show is to, yes, of course, celebrate these wonderful cuts and purges of people that need to be gone. But everyone's covering that. And to me, that is a bit of a distraction, not on purpose. These are great things, and I think it's important for anyone to show what they're doing, especially President Trump, to show that he is keeping his promises, and he is. Okay. When I was watching, and by the way, hat tip to Natalie Winters and Steve Bannon and the War Room for leading me to this story about not only Indivisible, but these other groups like RevCom, whom I've known about for a while, and all the other ones that I've covered. But when I see that guy, Ezra Levine, talking, Natalie Winters is right. He's very organized. He doesn't look disheartened. They've grown their branches much in the way that the precinct strategy with Royce White grew, much like the grassroots type of stuff that the Scott Pressler, the Persistence, is doing in Pennsylvania, much like Moms for Liberty are doing across the country, and they continue to, taking over school boards legally, of course. They're doing that now, okay? And it's a reminder when you see that to realize that they're not stopping. Now, we've said this a million times on this show, and I know you all know this. But one thing about neo-Marxists, liberals, whatever you want to call them, they never stop. They're relentless. They're like The Walking Dead. You could, if you've ever seen the movie, like The Walking Dead, it's like they'll be just a torso and they'll be biting at your ankles. They never stop. So we can never stop. Now, I know a lot of you haven't, but I know, myself included, we all took a little break. Can't take any more breaks. Midterms are going to be upon us in no time flat. Okay? And that's very important to recognize, is we all have to get out there and hit the ground running. If you see what Donald Trump's doing, it should be clear to you where his brain is, where his mind is. He's moving fast because he doesn't know what tomorrow will bring. He knows also that these things take a long time. He knows that a lot of the things he's doing, which I totally agree with. I agree with all of them, by the way. And I only speak for me. I don't speak for Daily Cloud. I don't speak for my wife, Naomi Wolf. I speak for Brian O'Shea. I agree with all of these things. I've been on the inside of the intelligence community for a long time. I know where the rot is. I know what USAID is all about. These things need to happen. Okay, because these things have, as you've seen, affected all of us. All right, we'll get into that a little later. But they have to happen, but he's doing it as fast as he can because he knows they will get caught up in court cases. He's already getting sued across, the administration is getting sued across the board. And the Democrats have stated they will now slow down every single nomination that goes through just for the sake of slowing it down. Okay, so what's the point of this show? The point of this show is to kind of remind everyone who needs reminding that while we might think, great, we won a battle. We didn't win a war. And we only got Donald Trump for less than 4 years. Less than 4 years. And if we lose Congress and or the Senate in the midterms, actually not these midterms, but if we lose Congress, that's a really big problem. That's a really big problem because that is the most important thing. But it's more than just Congress. We're going to go into the website here in a bit on Indivisible. Okay. But what they're doing is they've identified, if you heard in the opening video, and there's a method to my opening videos, by the way. I'm sorry I'm late, but I really wanted to put that together so people can see kind of how these things historically line up and how they're going to keep happening. They're going to keep happening. But what you see in that in the video is that they're moving, they've got a strategy, and this Ezra Levine, he's a very smart guy. He used to be a White House staffer or a Hill staffer. He sees something that worked. Okay, he sees the Steve Bannons. He sees the independent media like me and you and bigger people than me. And they're mimicking it. It's very, very, very smart. So last night I was doing a lot of driving. I had to go to the VA hospital, and that's where I have to listen to a lot of my news because we are out here in the woods. Everything is about a 45-minute to 2-hour drive. So a trip to the VA hospital for me is an all-day affair. But it's a great opportunity to not only listen to, the shows I like to kind of warm me up. I love listening to the War Room in the morning, kind of it's like my morning cup of coffee. But I also listen to Morning Joe. I also listen to Rachel Maddow. I also listen to C-SPAN, Financial Times. I listen to all of them because I need to know what the signal is, as the War Room would say, through the noise. Okay, and we are just celebrating on our side of this war. They're already strategizing and making their moves. So what Ezra Levine said in this podcast I listened to last night, which is called Future Hindsight, was how they're going after the lowest level elections. They're going after the precincts. They're going after the townships, the towns. They're going after the counties because they know, like the mother said in My Big Fat Greek Wedding, DC might be the head, but the people and the lowest levels of government, they are the neck. Wherever they turn, the head turns with it. They know that. Now, what's especially haunting, if you really kind of made that comparison between what Trevor Loudon, who I had on the show, that was back in about October, he was talking about how he had a quote from the Chinese Communist Party, how they need all of our precincts. So they know. People on our side do know. If you go to Royce White's precinct strategy, you'll see what I mean. But Ezra Levine knows as well. And he's getting on, you have to recognize that he's getting on the biggest shows. MSNBC, CNN. That's a big deal. That's what you should recognize, because that means he's being funded. Now, granted, USAID coming down, that eliminates a lot of money. So it's almost like they lost their air support, but there's still troops on the ground, and there's a lot of them. A lot of them. Okay, so keep this in mind when you are going about your day, when you decide which news to listen to. Yes, of course, you have to listen to both sides of the news. You have to listen to conservative media because they tend to be more truthful. And by conservative, I mean conservative thinking media, not just people that yell at a mic. But you also have to listen to what the other side is signaling, because they're not trying to reach you. They're not trying to convince you, people like you and I, of anything. They're trying to embolden their base. And like the Mao Zedong video during that Xi Van Fleet interview I showed you, like that showed, is when Mao was forced to give up power, he didn't just go home and give up. He didn't go and sign up to the Speakers Bureau or go play golf. He planned, and he got into the communities. He got into the culture. He knew he couldn't use the military to stage a coup, but he wanted power back. He wanted it back. Then he looked around and he realized the most reactionary, easily manipulated, and numerous people in the population were the students between 10 and like 25 years old. Sound familiar? Because what does the other side target? Who do they target? They target that same demographic. Am I saying, the Chinese Communist Party is running that movement? Yeah, I am. Maybe not directly, but at least as a guiding principle, at least as a roadmap. And that's why I played that. And it was interesting when I played the Xi Van Fleet interview, which that was like early summer, that interview. It was shocking to see that segment about Mao. And I was like, yeah, the Democrats don't have a Mao Zedong, but one might pop up, or replace Mao with the bureaucratic state. They want their power back. They're showing it in their rancor over the USAID shutdown, because that was their gravy train. So the point of tonight's show is to look at some of these groups that are doing that groundwork, that are getting into the communities, that have been in the communities for a long time, but they have people listening to them. They do. And the way it works with them is they have a very aggressive arm. Those are the ones that will cause violence in the street. Those would be the RevComs or Revolutionaries Communist America. And then they have the more strategic part of the chain, and that would be your indivisibles. So just like on the conservative side, we have the more aggressive types. I won't name who they are because I don't want to call anyone out in a negative way, but you know who they are. There's very, very aggressive people. They're not illegal or anything like that, but they're very aggressive. They're not for everyone. But then you have the more thinking. You have the Steve Bannons and the Glenn Greenwalds and, Daily Clout, who are thinking strategy. They're thinking strategy. They're thinking, okay, we won this election. How do we win the next 100 years worth of elections? Well, this is the first time I've seen the left, maybe since Obama, think that way. And that should get everyone's attention. That should get everyone's attention. And that group's called Indivisible. So my regular listeners, write it down and definitely start investigating all of it. And I won't tell you what to do. I won't tell you what I'm doing directly. But just like they wanted embeds in all of these agencies to leak on Donald Trump, we need embeds behind enemy lines. We just do. Take that as you will. Okay, so before I get going too far on that, welcome again. Thank you for coming on. Let me just say hello to some of my regular viewers. Sorry, I have this little tiny face. There I am. Okay, so we do have, that's me responding to Watcher 911 says, why is everyone advertising gold? Well, thank you, Watcher. What a great segue, because we are advertising gold. You can see it right there. One of our sponsors is Birch Gold, and you just text Daily Clout to 989898. You're going to get a free information kit. But I answer everyone's question. So this is why everyone's advertising gold. First of all, we saw what happened in the, I don't even know what you'd call it at this point, in the last 4 years, so let's just say, where people got debanked, where stocks have gone up and down, where you just can't trust what you're invested in. I got into Birch Gold because I realized halfway through the pandemic, or plandemic, whatever you want to call it, I realized halfway through that I never really paid attention to what was in all these old 401ks. So I finally did. I looked in there. Oh my God, there's like BlackRock, there's Chinese Communist Party companies. It was not good. And they were all like kind of really, really risky investments. And when I looked at the gold charts, because I heard about gold, like everyone, we've all seen the commercials when we were kids about gold, and it was like the guy from Knots Landing was always holding up a gold coin and saying buy gold, and we're like, oh geez, that sounds stupid. It's right around the .coms. But to answer Watcher 911's question, and it is a good question, Watcher 911, and I'm glad you joined us. So while the video is playing, I did pull up a chart, okay? And this is why everyone's advertising gold, because it is a hedge in hard times. It is a hedge in all times. Let me just show you. This is the all-time chart. I'm going to share this with you. Get rid of that video. All right, here we go. Okay, so I never really looked at gold, and I am kicking myself now because I remember when gold was like in the 300s, and boy, did I wish I buy it back then. But check this out. This is why everyone's advertising gold right here. Okay, this is 1833, $20 an ounce. Can you imagine? By 1948, $35 an ounce. You get up here into the 70s, you're going into 186. They had a nice peak here in the 80s, 656 an ounce, and then down here, and this is when I remember it. Now, this is around the dot-com boom, so I think a lot of people, it probably drove gold down. A lot of people were getting into the dot-coms right here. You went down to like 255, but then as you came out of the 2000s, especially after 9/11, you see this sharp rise, because this is right around the time things really got uncertain. And you see what happened here, and it goes on and on. And I'm kicking myself even now because that was 1928 per ounce, 1,928 an ounce in January 2023. And the closing price today was 2,867.63 an ounce. So that's why everyone's advertising gold, because even if you're not worried about the future of the economy, you should be, but even if you're not, just look at the chart. Who wouldn't want about 33% growth rate in their portfolio, since more than that since 31 of August 2022. So that's why we advertise gold. I don't know why everyone else does, but that's why I was really a big champion for saying, yes, I would love to advertise for Birch Gold. So go ahead and text that Daily Clout to 989898. You will get a free info kit. It's worth it. I highly recommend it, especially if you like knowing what the heck is going on in the world, because I actually read Birch Gold's newsletter every morning because it has the coolest headlines that connect to everything. Gold is under everything. Okay, gold is connected to everything. And if you don't believe me, let me just put it this way. Remember Mayor Bass flew to Ghana during the California fires? I'm not saying she went there for gold. I just want to point out that Ghana is the largest gold producer in Africa. The largest. Okay, so its veins run through everything, just like communists. So, all right. So great question. I appreciate those kind of questions. One more time, text Daily Clout to 989898. Get your free info kit. They're not going to spam you, but you are going to get so much cool information. And if you go to investigate everything on Rumble, you see it scrolling at the bottom of the page there. You can see I have several interviews with Philip Patrick, the precious metals specialist over at Birch Gold. Those are my best conversations. I really, no offense to everyone else, but in terms of like learning new stuff about what's really driving the markets and the momentum of the world, Philip Patrick, he will connect things and say, oh my gosh. And I will say this, definitely watch the interview he just did with my wife, Naomi Wolf. She came away from that one a little depressed because he doesn't see, I don't want to misquote him, but basically it wasn't great news. I mean, thank God Trump's in the White House and we're backing off of the ledge, but we're still going to be near it even after. He doesn't see any principle on our deficit going down. So if there's a silver lining there or a gold lining, that's good for gold, but I'd rather, anyways, you get it. All right. I ramble on. Okay. So one more time, 989898, text that and send that little text message, Daily Clout. All right. Let me get another comment here. Okay. So let me get that off the screen. There we go. Get rid of that. All right. And there I am. Okay. So the next comment is coming from, and by the way, watcher, thank you. All right. Blue Wolf, regular visitor here. Thanks for being on, Blue Wolf 2000. Good evening, Brian. Nice to see you. And while you're live, yes, I am horrible about announcing when I'm going to be live. As I mentioned a couple episodes ago, we have only won a singular battle. It is by no means time to have sign relief. The fight to save the Republic has only just begun. Yes, good point. That's exactly, you got it. That's exactly what I was saying. It's unfair advantage for Blue Wolf because he watches the show regularly. We've only taken the beach. Got it, man. We 100% no, we can't. And by not sitting down, what does that mean? Okay. Let's get into that. Let's get right into the strategy of what I mean. Okay, so you see like Ezra, he's talking about like they do have these massive calls. I need some of you to get on some of those calls, just kind of record it and see what they're saying. But they get like hundreds of thousands of people on these calls. And again, this is the Steve Bannon War Room, granted a kind of a like a beta version of Steve Bannon, but you see the look he's going for. I mean, he started in the little suit. Now he's wearing some sort of weird bomber jacket. But he's not to be underestimated. He's a very good organizer, like a lot of them are. So what can you do against that? Well, the first thing I would recommend, okay, let's just go right into the strategy, which I was going to say for the end of the show. What can you do as they mount up? Well, the first thing you need to do is go back into your tweets, go back into your Facebooks, whatever you were on back in 2016, and watch the strategy that they mounted when Donald Trump got in the first time. And what you'll see is a ecosystem form where these influencers pop up out of nowhere. These influencers pop up on the conservative side, and they start kind of arguing with people. Then they let the people win the argument. Well, when you beat someone in an argument and they're gracious about it, what happens? You like them better. So then you feel the need to listen to them and consider their points of view. That's how they lead you away. This is classic nudge techniques. So we're seeing that now. What you're going to see on the conservative side, or independent media side, I don't even like saying conservative. I like to think of myself as a nationalist populist, like several other people do. But here's what that looks like, okay? You're going to see people that literally will question everything that the current administration does and start saying, oh, it's part of the New World Order. Maybe, but that doesn't matter right now because that's not actionable intelligence. What matters right now is we're watching the dismantling of the weaponry, the strategic weaponry that's being used against people like us and people who are probably watching the show. Okay. I don't know. I don't know Donald Trump. I've met him once, but maybe he is. Right now, I don't care. Right now, he's that weapon that's aiming in the direction I need it to aim. Okay, and as long as it's aiming in that direction, I'm not going to give up my faith and my trust so easily. I'll keep an eye on things, but I'm not going to spend my time trying to figure out if it's real or not, because if I distract myself doing that, which is important, it's always important to keep an eye on the people you hire to do a job. He works for us. But you can't become obsessed with it, because if you become too obsessed with that, or too obsessed with what's going on with the White House, and you start ignoring everything else, you're going to get flanked, just like the country got flanked many, many times by neo-Marxists, by Marxists, by, whatever you want to call them. We got flanked because we get so worried about, what's going on over here, what's going on here, that we don't, we're focused on this thing that isn't really hurting us, while the people that really want to hurt us are surrounding us. Okay, so do it your way. Yes, it's always important to do continual due diligence on the people you hire. But again, don't forget that there's two types of intelligence, right? There's counterintelligence. Make sure everyone is not giving away the kingdom. So you're keeping an eye on people inside the castle. That's very good. But there's an enemy out there, and a lot of them, and they're not happy. Okay, they got very emboldened under Biden. Now they're pissed. Okay, and do not let your guard down because people are caving to Donald Trump. Okay, it's good, but they're pissed. They're not happy. Look at the South American countries. They're already plotting. Okay, China, I mean, they're always plotting. Honestly, I think they just can't help it. The CCP can't help it. That's how they roll. Okay. And Russia too. I mean, I'm not a, pro-Ukrainian scam type guy, but, everyone has their interests. Okay. Everyone has their country that they want to protect, or their pockets they want to line. Okay. And so you can't really trust anyone. And that does include the European Union, the UK, Canada, Mexico. They're not our friends. All right. I think Donald Trump knows that. But the point is, don't waste all your time worrying about the guy who is keeping the house warm and keeping the windows locked and keeping the house protected. Keep an eye on him, but don't waste all your time doing it. Make sure you are manning the ramparts. Okay. Because you will get screwed otherwise. And that's a strategy. It's a strategy to get people to focus inside so they're not watching what's outside. Another point of having this episode today, that's not about Trump's victories and our victories through him, but that's about the enemy is inside the gates. They haven't gone away. They've been doing this for a long time, hundreds of years. They're not going to stop. So you can't stop, just like Blue Wolf says. So what's the strategy? Get on those calls and find out what they're talking about. Go to the sites we're going to talk about tonight and study the enemy. Learn the enemy. Learn how they think. Here's another one. Don't keep any stereotypes alive. Okay? Don't do it. Here's why I say that. And here's what I mean. If someone says, oh, you're just a knuckle-dragging MAGA guy, probably not the best idea to like punch them out, or, curse them out, because you're just feeding into a stereotype. Okay. If they attack you, of course, defend yourself. But what I would recommend to people is this: have a conversation. Oh, why do you think that way? Always collect intel. It's not about making friends. It's not about like convincing them that they should like people like us. They probably never will. Okay. But view it as an intel collection moment, an opportunity. I can't imagine when I was working competitive intelligence and national intelligence and agency intelligence, I'd get fired if I went to the field and someone in another country offended me and I said, hey man, F you. Well, I'm not getting any intelligence that way. So get people to talk to you and do it with a lot of questions. Use it as an opportunity. And then you're also not feeding into a stereotype, because you don't want to reinforce with the Ezra Levines and the Indivisibles and the Revcoms and the refuse fascisms. You don't want to reinforce the lies they're telling about people they don't even know. Okay. So that's one strategy. Another strategy is flood not only X, not only Getter, not only Rumble, not only Substack, flood Medium with your messaging, flood, Blue Sky with your messaging. Okay. Always be looking for wherever they go and make sure your message is getting on there en masse. Because what I am noticing, I love X, great platform. It's not as horrible as it used to be. I used to hate going on X. But it is kind of, I'm noticing a lot fewer dissenting voices now. Now that could mean that the influencers are not getting paid anymore. Who knows? But I do fear the echo chamber. Okay, so what I recommend is, especially if you're investigating everything, you won't learn anything from people that agree with you. You'll learn some things, but you won't learn actionable intelligence. You will learn a lot from people who disagree with you, geopolitically, socially, whatever. You'll learn a lot. Your goal is to learn how they think, why they think that way, where they're getting their information. That's one question I ask everyone. Where do you get your news? Where'd you hear that? Okay, because you always, in the intel business, you always want to swim upstream. Anyone who's got a clearance, they know you fill out your SF-86, and they say list like 3 friends who can vouch for you. They go to those 3 friends, the people who are checking you for your clearance, and they will ask, what do you think of them, blah, blah, blah. Then they'll ask that friend for 3 friends. They're swimming upstream. Got to do the same thing. Get sources. Get sources. A source could be where they get their news from. A source could be where they go to church. A source could be why they think that way. Maybe they learned it in college. Okay. My son told me he just got back from this college. Go to that college's website and see what kind of news they're quoting. See what kind of books are on the curriculum. That's intel. What do you do with that intel? A lot of things. You can counter it. You can call it out. You can investigate the authors. You can investigate the journalists. You can call them out for any wrongdoing they've done and lay doubt on them and undermine any authority they have by planting seeds of legitimate doubt for legitimate bad things they've done. Don't make things up. Okay, don't make things up, because that worked horribly for the Democrats. a lie can only keep going for so long. That's why real covert influence, real propaganda is just amplification. Real powerful propaganda is amplification of the truth. Okay. So that's, we'll have to do a whole show on that, but you get the idea. Okay. Don't, you see some guy in a dress and he's trying to pick an argument with you, turn into that question mode. Don't back down. Don't be wimpy, but Mom, sorry you feel that way. Why do you feel that way? Well, because you'll start hearing the talking points, and then you'll say, where'd you hear that? Not a lot of times they won't tell you, but you'll start hearing the same talking points. Okay. We're going to go into one of those talking points in just a minute. Let me get to a few more comments. That makes sense to you guys? Okay. Don't view the intelligent soldier on the battlefield has two jobs. Defending themselves and their unit and collecting intel. The number one job, the primary job, is collecting intel. Okay, so if you just want to be, warfighter, a guy with a big battle axe, whatever, this is the wrong advice for you. But if you want to have powerful, actionable intelligence, you will treat every single person who disagrees with you as a source, okay, not as someone to smash, because that is a source of intel. All right. A couple more comments here. Blue Wolf. I can't, it's interesting. I got several thousand people on this, but through the streaming platform, I can only see a couple different comments. I don't know why that is. I'll check, I'll check X in a second. All right. So, and to action it. Yep, absolutely. I got to call, actually, really quickly. This is a good friend of mine right here. Backing up the effort is key. Everyone needs to be vigilant. So, this is Mr. Torma up there in Canada. He is going to be on the show. He has his own show. And go ahead and feel free to throw up your link, Shimjelly. But yeah, Torma, he's always keeping me informed about how the government works up there in Canada, how the political winds shift up there, what really is a conservative up there, what's the sentiment up there. It's very, very important to understand what's going on with our northern and southern neighbors. Jim is a great source for that. So let's see what he says here. Canada is infested with Chinese power and Indian infiltration in Canada's trucking industry, shipping drugs and more by Indians. Yeah, I've seen that too. Canada has super labs making fentanyl. No kidding. Pop it up on the chat. What are the names of them? Share that intel, because you'll have a bunch of people looking into it down here, because if they're making it in Canada in super labs, as you say, and I believe you, the customers are here. Okay, they're in Canada, but there's more customers here, so it'd be interesting to know where the distribution points are. Kind of feeling like Miami Vice here. But that's really interesting intel. Jim, reach out to me tomorrow if you would. Let's chat about that. I can't do a show tomorrow. I'll be on the road, but we could definitely talk. That's great intel. Okay, 95. Okay, American Dreamer, welcome back. 95% of people don't have any depth to their arguments or opinions. No, they don't. Not at all. And that's good. I mean, that's good to know, because if they don't, then they're kind of a bit brainwashed, but they're not lost. If they don't have a base, if they're not true believers, they're savable, or they're at least usable. All right. I hate to sound so callous, but it's my background. You're right. They don't have any depth to the arguments, and they will just yell at you. You saw in the earlier introduction video how the Chinese communist leader, he pissed Mao off, and they're saying, no, you can't talk. They probably couldn't tell him why he can't talk. They just said, well, because you were a communist and you didn't let us talk, which is kind of a circular, weird, kind of contradictory argument. But that's the thing. You can't get caught up in those either. And yeah, actually, this brings up another point. Don't waste time. Okay. Like, let's say you get into an argument with someone and they don't know anything and they're just morons. There's a lot of them out there. Move on. Move on. Here's another piece of advice. Don't get drawn into the Harry Sissons and all that, because I actually watched Harry Sisson's live feed. He's that little kind of weirdly non-shaving guy. He's like 24 and he still doesn't seem like he's aged past 13. It's just weird looking. But the point is, I see his method. He's a sharp kid. He's not especially smart, but he's sharp. He's got instincts. And what he does is he does a very late stream, and then it's just cringeworthy because, some of our, God love them, patriotic brothers and sisters will hop on his live to debate with him. First of all, you never debate with the host of their own show. It's just a bad idea. That's why you always want to debate in a neutral area where it's controlled by a third party. He'll draw them in, and then he talks over them, and he makes them look stupid because out of the blue, he'll hit someone with a question like, what's the current inflation rate from like last quarter? Like, who's going to know that, like off the top of their head? And these people stay on, and then he tells them to shut up, you're done. And they stay on. Don't do it. Also, I could tell some of the people who call in, God bless them, but they sound like they've had a few drinks, and so their little brain's a little tired, and he's like on 15 million cups of coffee. You don't want to do that because it's bad for you. It's bad for your motivation. You wake up the next morning like, oh man, I just got, figuratively curb stomped by this guy, Harry. But you're also emboldening the other side when they hear that and they're like, yeah, see, it's just like they told us they are. Because a lot of these people will never meet the people that called in. Don't do it. Don't, if you want to debate, someone wants to debate with you, yeah, debate them if you know your stuff. But make sure you have a third party set it up. Don't call into a show and try to debate with the host. It never works. They control the mic. Okay. They control the mic. That's why. All right. They can make you look any way they want. Chargan, TTD. I don't know what that means. Chargan, if you could, and welcome to the show, by the way. TTD, if you could just spell that out for me, I'd appreciate it. And I will get back to you if you pop that up on the chat. Cousin Ernie, Blue Wolf said hi to Cousin Ernie. YouTube BW2, that is my actual cousin. He's awesome. Cayman 666, welcome back. Platinum. Okay. You'll have to flesh that one out for me too. LOL. Right. So anyways, that's some of the advice. Don't get don't go into battle unless you're trained for battle. Don't go into a debate unless you kind of know your stuff. Okay. Now, if you find yourself there, I actually have learned from several people, including my wife, about media training. Let's say you get hit with a question you don't know. Okay. Don't answer it. Don't say, I don't know. Just, I think it's called hit, bridge, sparkle. Like you say, okay, that's an interesting question. It actually brings up this question here, and how do you blah, blah, blah. And then you lead it to an area, If they're the hosts, they're going to force you back onto the other topic. But, it's at least an escape hatch on a regular program. It will get you out of a lot of trouble. So you're not lying or getting caught with, not knowing things, but, it's a good strategy. And you see, like, it's overused in Congress. It's overused at hearings, but you get it. All right. So those are some strategies. Before we go on any further, though, I got some great sleep last night. Super happy about that because I have horrible sleep issues. And a big reason I get sleep is another one of my sponsors. And by the way, guys, I actually use everything I talk about. I will not advertise anything on this show that I don't use myself. I do have a sleep disorder, and magnesium has really helped that. Okay. Magnesium breakthrough. These bioptimizers, are great. It's just the type, I don't know, the mixture of magnesium, but apparently most Americans have a magnesium deficiency. I didn't know that. that can actually lead to a condition that kind of makes you like a caveman. It's like if you don't have enough iodide. But it also will greatly affect your sleep. I never knew that. So got these bioptimizers. I don't have enough for my trip, so I'll have to, hopefully we have a few more of these. But I take these about an hour before I go to bed, and I sleep like a rock. So make sure, let me get the banner up there, make sure you get yours. If you have any sleep issues, and even if you don't, and you probably do, because I think everyone does. I want to believe everyone does, so I'm not alone in the world. Bioptimizers.com/dailyclout. You're going to get 10% off. As you can see on the screen, these things are hugely popular. Once I discovered magnesium, it sold, sold. Because I will do anything to get a good night of sleep. If you don't have sleep, you can't think. If you don't have sleep, you eventually go nuts. If you don't have sleep, your body breaks down. If you don't have sleep, you become one of those old men in my dad's coffee shop that would just stare at their donut from like 5 a.m. till 6:30 in the morning. Then you have to remind them what their name is. You don't want to be that guy. Not being cruel. My dad had a donut shop. I remember those dudes. All right, so there is Bioptimizers. Check it out. They do have a money-back guarantee, but make sure you use the promo code DailyClout if you forget to use the URL. But go to bioptimizers.com/DailyClout. Get 10% off and let us know what you think. Okay, you can, if you even want to shoot me a video, you can DM it to me or put it on, send it to Rumble, or you can send it to my email at brian@dailyclout.io. I'll throw your video up as long as it's, appropriate. And it's about that. So there's that. Okay. So bioptimizers.com/dailyclout. Get your 10% off and get a great night of sleep. I've already taken mine for right after this show because I'm going to get a great night of sleep. I got a lot of driving to do tomorrow. All right. So Bioptimizers. All right. So let's go and check out a different group. So we talked about Indivisible, but this one here is, actually, I'm going to save that one for last. We're going to talk about RevCom. Okay. When you watch these things, by the way, and I've watched all of these are these are real communists, guys. Like a lot of people, they're like, yeah, right. Like, I have kids in my family. I won't say, my own offspring, perhaps, but they're like, oh yeah, I'm sure there's communists everywhere. No, there are communists everywhere. Like, there's a lot of them. It used to be kind of trendy, in the academia and on the left, who kind of set the culture of the country for far too long. But so these guys here, check this out. So this is revcom.us. This dude, Bob Avakian, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of him. They've been at it for a long time. How this guy is not arrested by now, I don't know. I mean, he's constantly calling for like violent overthrow of the U.S. Let me just play. And by the way, see that? Blue sky. I'm not saying leave X, but you got to get, I've got an account over there. I hate supporting it, but I always put my stuff out there because you can reach one person, you get a beachhead, you're good. But let me just see here. I won't play the whole thing because they're long.
All right, so there's a lot that we want to cover in this interview.
I don't know if you guys can hear
but
that.
I want to dive right in with what we're most immediately facing right now, which is in just a matter of days, the Trump MAGA fascist regime is going to assume the power of the presidency. This time around, he's got the backing of all 3 branches of government. He is assembling a cabinet full of woman haters, Christian fascist crusaders, immigrant bashers, science deniers, climate destroyers, outright lunatics. And I wonder if you could just help us understand, what are we facing with this regime? How should we understand the stakes of this?
Well, I think, it's very interesting. We're facing fascism. And, I said it's very interesting because, as you recall, no doubt, toward the end of the election, the Democratic Party hacks finally came out and said, oh, this Trump, he's a fascist. Then as soon as he won the election, Oh, well, he's not really a fascist. He's not really a threat to our capitalist imperialist. Okay, they didn't say capitalist imperialist, to our democracy. You know, after all, he's the president. So, and then you see this whole parade of all these tech, bros and, heads of corporations and Democratic Party officials and, commentators from MSNBC and whatever rushing to, to get on the good foot with Trump, So this is a very serious situation, as you said. There really, it really is fascism, nothing less, which means like the undisguised, open, aggressive dictatorship of this system of capitalism, imperialism, as you said, in the world's most powerful.
Yeah, I won't play it all. He just kind of rambles on and says the same things over and over, but they actually believe this stuff. He might not. He's, clearly making money on it. Otherwise, he would be very happy that a guy is in the White House that will keep his taxes low like he did last time and hopefully bring down the price of eggs, which, by the way, that's a messaging point. So so I'm sure anyone that studies communism knows who this guy is. He's literally been at it since like the 60s. But this is the most kind of unbalanced I've seen him in a while. I'm not trying to take a victory lap here, but these kind of people, man, he's got all those dudes you saw in the beginning video, like they kind of look like, I don't know, kind of look like the Black Panthers and Antifa had a baby. But they're his guy. This guy can say things and he gets a lot of people in the street. So that's why I listen to it, because you'll hear the word fascist. I don't even pay attention to that. That's a rallying cry. And just like the beginning video showed, it's the same thing. Once they have to convince their followers that the guy at the top that they don't want at the top is an enemy to the state, an enemy to the people. They have to convince them of that. They have to convince their followers of that. So this guy is not in any way, as far as I know, affiliated with Indivisible. But this is kind of like, it's kind of like the irregulars, These are the people that will go and mess things up in your community. These are the kind of people that will stop traffic. These are the kind of people that they actually have said they don't care about the rule of law. He said that in his inauguration night address, which I was watching. I was going to live stream, but I decided not to. They have a purpose for those indivisible type folks where they can cause chaos. They're like artillery on the enemy. Okay. This guy is actually, he's kind of like a quasi Maoist. It's actually a pretty accurate Wikipedia profile of him, even though I don't use Wikipedia as a source, of course not. But if you want to get an overview, it's a decent overview. But this, I've never seen him this animated. And again, when they're this animated, when he's shifting in his seat like that, you got to keep it on the lookout. I get the newsletter to my third-party email, my fake email, but I keep an eye on everything they do, okay? Because they're delusional. These people are delusional. I don't mind saying it. They are delusional. Nothing he said, nothing I've read, and I've read most of the stuff he's written, is based in any fact or reality. It's almost like he's in like a, South American, post mid-70s country where they're actually fighting they're actually communists who are fighting. This guy, but again, it's the charisma. He's got charisma. You might not be able to see it, but his followers do. Okay. His followers do. And he's reachable by his people. He's just a figurehead. This guy's never out in the street. He hasn't been out in the street in a long time, but people listen to him. This is an intel source. Keep an eye on it. And I'm not promoting him at all, but I am saying, think in the intelligence brain here. These are sources. You're not going to get anything from people who agree with you. This guy has a totally different view of America, our system of government, and they openly call for the tearing down of our system of government. Let me see if I can find it on his site here. Yeah, it says it right here. We need and we demand a whole new way to live, a fundamentally different system. There's really no gray area there. Okay. So will they achieve it? Of course not. But they can hurt a lot of people in the meantime. Do they have a right to say it? Of course they do. Okay. Of course they do. This is America. But again, as we saw with the Antifa riots and the BLM riots, it can turn deadly. And that's why, we have to always counter these messages as much as we can. And that could just mean, calling in on the shows that he's on and saying, dude, you're so wrong and here's why. They'll hang up on you. And then you just have a line of your friends doing the same thing. And then always, when I go to a site like this, always check out the social media. I want to point out here that this is what's happening now, is a lot of these people are getting on Substack. Because I know that's where all the, non-Marxists hang out. Okay, this guy's on Substack now. They're going into the houses we play in. You can't see that. I'm so sorry. Here we go. Yep. So they're going into and getting Substack accounts where the Marxists and the liberals and, just people, I have a Medium account. They used to hang out on Medium. Okay. That's where they used to hang out. I think The Guardian owns Medium. That's kind of like the original blog site. That's where you'll find a lot of them. Okay. But obviously we know Substack's where a lot of us hang out. I welcome them being there. We don't have to go hunt for his weird messaging so we can counter it. But keep in mind, you're going to see a lot more people infiltrating in. Okay. And it's Bob Avakian. He's not going to fool anyone on, that we know, but be careful of the people that are a little more clever, a little more in the times, that will agree with you. And you got to look for the shift. Yeah, buts. Got to look for that shift. Yeah, buts. Yeah, this is all great and good, but don't you think? Then they start leading you. Okay, that's how they do it, because they are a slow marching type of folk. All right, so that's one. That's the RevComs. They've been around forever. Everyone knows about them. But they're, you can't, as you saw, anyone that is willing to get off their couch and go in the street, is a threat to something. If they're against what you believe in, they are a threat to you because they're actually taking action. Okay. I have to say, anyone that takes action from an operational standpoint, those are people you got to watch for. Okay. They're not just staying on Twitter. They're not just staying on Blue Sky. They're getting their instructions from Blue Sky. They're going out in the street, and they're highly organized. He might not be, but he's not running his whole show. He's got a whole cadre of people that run it for him, and they are a money-making machine. Okay. They might have lost USAID, but there are plenty of people with deep pockets that will still contribute to them and are. So that's one to keep an eye on. Okay. So let me see. Lilith Datora is saying, what is this garbage? Welcome on, Lilith. We are showing the type of places we got to watch out for. If you're, if you're pro-America and pro what's best for America, these, like the guy I just showed, they are against all that. So I am showing the people who've been listening here that you can't just go into the echo chamber. You got to look at what, the other side is saying, and that was one of them. So I don't want you to think that this is like we're promoting him. Definitely not. So just keep that in mind. But welcome aboard what is, and I agree, it is garbage. Okay, Blue Wolf again. One of the main communist tactics: finger point and blame the other side for the sins, and you have actually committed yourself. Yep. Repeat it continuously until people start to believe it. Yeah, that's actually the fundamental of propaganda: repetition and redundancy, over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Okay, over and over and over again. That's what chants are about. That's what the drum beats are about. That's what chants at athletic events are about. You remember them. That's what slogans on TV are about. There's really no difference between propaganda and marketing. Think about it. I mean, I don't have the book here in front of me, but it's over there. But like Bernays, he was the father of, propaganda, whatever. But he was in sales, and he would convince, if you read his book about propaganda, he figured out, okay, if I'm going to sell pianos, I need to sell the lifestyle around a piano. I need to sell the idea that everyone, what do you mean you don't have a piano? A piano's like a toilet, like you got to have a piano. And it worked. He changed the way people looked at reality. That's deep propaganda. That's core propaganda. The way you hammer that is everywhere potential customers went, they were hearing about piano. So, and it's the same thing with COVID. You saw the same propaganda messaging. Gonna kill grandma, stay inside, stay alive, stay inside, stay alive. It's the same thing. Okay. You don't even need the NSA or the sophistication that, we've seen. You don't even need that. You just need lots of voices, lots of them. You just need a bunch of people to become self-licking ice cream cones, man. And then that's it. And they all start chanting, then they start believing it. And there's a whole reason for that I can't get into tonight. But there is a book by a guy named Michael Nels called The Indoctrinated Brain. I cannot recommend it enough. It's incredible. Full disclosure, my wife wrote the foreword for that book, but I didn't know that until I was listening to it on Audible, and there's like, oh, foreword by Naomi Wolf. I'm like, oh, when did she squeeze that in? So anyways, yeah, it's important to read that book because it lets you know where brains go and why brains go that way and how to protect your own brain. But it's talking about the messaging and how it actually rewrites your own biography. So you change your own personal history. It's an amazing book. I cannot recommend it enough. Okay. So Blue Wolf has how to fight it, investigate everything, educate yourself. Yes, absolutely. Brian talked about it, and always keep your patriotism, as Bezmenov, the subversion guy who was in charge of subversion from the USSR, Yuri Bezmenov, talked, is and always keep the faith. Well, I want to focus on that, Blue Wolf, because they're actually onto something. You have to have a belief, a focus, in my opinion, that's beyond your own personal needs. You have to have something that's even beyond our mortal realm, if you will. Some sort of spiritual or intellectual even. Not everyone's religious. That's okay. But you have to believe in something greater than yourself. Otherwise, you'll become addicted to yourself, and therefore you'll become addicted to the people that try to convince you they can make you a better self. Okay. You have to have faith because you're not going to be able to control everything. You have to have faith. Think of it this way. All right. Like if you've ever played football, all right, or you've ever coached football or watched football and understand it, American football, the wide receivers, the guys that catch the ball, for people that don't know football, they don't run down the field and then run around trying to make themselves available for the quarterback. They run down in a straight pattern, L pattern, a hook. Okay. And they just run, and they know they have to get to a certain spot, and the ball will be there if they're open. Quarterback has faith that they will be there. They have faith that the ball will be there when they get there, if they're the ones that are intended to be the receiver. That's faith. Okay. That comes with good drilled team, well-coordinated team, but it also comes with having the knowledge to know the likelihood of something happening. Okay. So we can look back now, and even if you're not religious, you can have faith in each other. Okay, because I think a lot of us didn't have faith in the American voting system, obviously from 2020 with the steal, in my opinion. We didn't have faith in other non-Marxists because we figured out no one's going to come out because we really got shattered in the midterms. But people did, okay, and we got to keep that faith alive. And yes, I'm a religious man, so I will say definitely there's a big importance to having a faith and a belief in something bigger than yourself. And I'll tell you why I have faith in that, because every time I focus on that, things go the right way, or they go in a better way than they'd otherwise would when I'm negative, when I'm not focused on something beyond myself. I'm intentionally not trying to get religious here because I want everyone to feel like, they can talk here. Okay. I believe in God. I have my beliefs. I'm a confirmed Catholic. Okay. That church has its own problems. I don't really care about the different churches. I just care about what I read, what I believe in, what just makes sense. Okay. To me, it makes sense not to if you look at the 10 Commandments, it makes sense not to sleep with the neighbor's wife because you will tear down the whole community. It makes sense not to kill each other. These things all make sense. It makes sense to avoid the 7 deadly sins: sloth, gluttony, greed, envy, graft. I forgot. It's late, but you know what I mean. We all saw, if you're not religious and you saw the movie Seven, you know what I'm talking about. Those are 7 deadly sins. They can actually kill you. Okay. So, they just make sense to me. And if you're not a religious person, that's okay. Be a positive person. Okay. Be a positive person, because you'll know if you, study things like, quantum physics, or read some of the books on self-help that involve quantum physics. If you actually project positivity comes back to you. Positivity just feels a hell of a lot better than negativity. It does, and it's healthier. Anyways, that's enough of my sermon. Okay, my all-inclusive sermon. All right, so Blue Wolf, thank you. That is a great piece of feedback, Blue Wolf. Thank you. Double yes. Love it. Yep. Yeah, that's how I feel, and it's, but it's also important, in my opinion, to, not everyone's going to agree with you. Okay. Not everyone's going to be the same faith as you if you have faith. Some people will be agnostic. Some people will be atheist. It's not for you to judge them. Okay. It's for you to listen to them. And if you don't like what they have to say, or you don't like them, then you move on. Okay. But why create an enemy if you could avoid creating an enemy? We got enough enemies. Okay. We're in the middle of this fight. We don't want to create more enemies. Okay. So try to listen to people to get the intel you need to either help them or get them off the battlefield. I'll just put it that way. That's odd. My light just went off. So, all right, next one. I always go way too long on these, but it's because I haven't talked to you guys in a while. All right, so I do want to show you the Indivisible site here. All right, so check this out. I just want to show what Natalie Winters was talking about is absolutely right on. They are highly organized. This is their map. Okay, they've added 250 locations since January, 250 chapters. Okay, if you go through these, they've got a plan. This is not just some lefties screaming at things. These are highly funded, highly organized, highly technological people that they have a plan, and they've executed things like this before. They did it with Obama. They did it with Biden, illegally, in my opinion. But if you go through this, and this is for you regulars and for you real intel operators, whether you have the training I have in the background or you don't, it doesn't take special access to be good at intelligence. It just takes diligence. It takes attention to detail. It takes common sense, and it takes a bit of analytical skill, which you can develop. But you see, everything here is really, really smart because it's all automated. They're using these CRM type databases, type setups here. And they're already forming a bunch of small groups. This is, if you've been in the military, I was in 2 special forces units. This is what foreign internal defense looks like. You go around the country and you train small villages and locals to fight and to do first aid and to do engineering, so they can protect that area you want them to protect. So this type of organization is a force multiplier for the people that I do not want in power again, but we have to take it seriously. Okay, so keep an eye on these folks for sure. Look at this group support hub. They could get money to their people, everything. So this is something to watch, because just like Mao did, they're not wasting their time. Thank God Trump's not wasting his time, but they are not wasting their time. And you should really pay attention to them and keep an eye on them. And, we can have some people ask me, how do you counter this? Just read their stuff and, basically see how they would counter it, because most people lay out their plan of action and their Achilles heel. So it's all here. They're not hiding it. They just probably assume that no one will ever turn their own public-facing stuff here into actionable intelligence. I am, and I'll show you in a second. All right, so that is, I just want to show you that, again, not promoting them, but that is their website. It is important to know thy enemy, okay? And if you feel like I do, they're your enemy. They're my enemy. You decide who your enemy is. Also, this is something, I don't know what this is. This symbol, let's click on it. Oh, Mastodon, yeah. I tried to do Mastodon. That's one I just seemed really stupid, but I have an account on there. I've never used it. They seem to, like, Blue Sky seems to be their thing. It's literally a total ripoff. You see, that's my account right there. And I'm not hiding who I am. It's important. I may or may not have other accounts on there that do hide who I am, but you can see here, this is all where all the people who left Twitter are running over to this place. Okay? Totally. So that's something to keep in mind there. Oh, damn it, guys. I'm sorry. There's this tab button I have to hit, so you can see this blue sky here, okay? And you can see it's a total Twitter ripoff, okay? Total Twitter. So you see I posted, just like I said, I posted my video about the fires there. Of course, I got no likes, no retweets, which is strange, but if you go on there, don't go like me. I just went right in with, hills ablazing. Post pictures of your pets. Don't post pictures of your kids, obviously. Post cute things that are just innocuous and neutral. And, a good strategy for getting into, like, burrowing into social media is just post, like, get on some dog groups. Get on, like, animals and social media. That is how you burrow in. And that's how you get followers too, see. If you go to any social media, you'll see, like, all of the influencers, they all start with, like, pictures of pets and all that. So just keep that in mind. All right. That is Blue Sky. That's another great intel source to see what the other side is thinking. All right. So, and again, I got to pay a little more attention to it. I haven't done much to it. I've been very busy with the show and actual investigations, but, it is a place that I'm, behind enemy lines on, for lack of a better term. Okay, another one too is obviously Instagram. Okay, a lot of them on Instagram. Okay, and that's also going to reach the younger audience. That's the millennial audience there. Okay, the working class millennial, by the way, is the most neglected demographic in the voting bloc. Keep that in mind. You might say, why do I care about voting? We all should care about voting. Just like what led up to the Donald Trump victory was everyone was the rule of 10s. Tell 10 people or bring 10 people to vote. You got to keep doing that because, again, if we lose the midterms, if you start losing things like a judge, like there's a judge race in Wisconsin that we got to keep an eye on. We'll talk more about that. Or the state legislature. They control how voting happens in a state. These things are all super important. So keep that in mind. But yes, it's very important, I think. Sorry. There you go. I give them a follow. To have a beachhead in all these. Now, Instagram is, you don't even have to go on there and be political. I'm not saying go on there and argue. On Instagram, you're going to get a lot further with just a lot of cool pictures, quality pictures, and you bring people in and then they don't make their accounts private. You could be there just because you like Instagram. I'm there because it's a wider audience, but I also can learn things about people that are not otherwise available to me that I might need intel on. So there's that one. All right. So let me stop sharing this. Okay. And then the last one I will show you is, so yeah, by the way, Blue Sky, that is literally like, that's like their getter. Okay. That's like their getter. All right. The final one I'm going to show you tonight is, these are all really interesting. One thing, the reason I do this is because I was trained to obviously study the enemy of, or potential threats to tactical units, and then threats to competitors. And I would do that by going into their world, learning their lingo, learning everything, so you can counter it, so you can derail it, so you can strategize against it. Okay. So there's that. So that's why I say this. It's easy to go onto a place where everyone agrees with you, but you're not going to learn anything. You'll learn some things, but you're not going to learn much in terms of what the enemy is doing. So Instagram, Instagram, Blue Sky, and some of these other websites. All right. So I'm going to get to the final one, but before I do that, I do want to talk about how I'm able to keep my voice from going out and how I wake up every morning and I feel great. And it's because of our sponsor, Native Path, who I love. Native Path. My son loves Native Path. It's actually getting ridiculous. Let me share the screen with you. It's getting ridiculous because my 13-year-old, he's an athlete, and he used to be into like Gatorade until he discovered this stuff through me, of course. But Native Path, really good stuff. I wake up we're on the Native Path challenge right now, actually. And both me and Naomi Wolf, I'm saying her name for all her fans out there, so they get on the Native Path as well, get on the path. We're hammering this stuff every morning all day long because it is full of amino acids. And I've got one right here. This is the Native Hydrate Mixed Berry, one of my favorites. I do like that mango peach. But really what it has is its benefits include hydration, muscle function, energy production, post-workout recovery, lean muscle mass preservation. What I really like about this Native Path, Native Hydrate, is, you wake up in the morning and you're dehydrated. You've been sleeping for hopefully more than 4 hours, but even if you sleep for 4 hours, that's 4 hours of not having any hydration. You feel like crap. You feel achy. You drink water, you feel a little better. But or you drink Gatorade, you might feel decent. Vitamin water maybe a little better. But this stuff, man, I literally get an energy rush, even if I've had no sleep. When I drink this first thing in the morning, I do 1 scoop, and it's better in glass. I recommend not using plastic if you can. Don't laugh, but I actually am a big fan of bourbon. But it just takes 1 scoop. Okay. You can actually flex this little thing here so it fits in and then I just shake it up and drink it down, and it goes down so easy too. You're going to feel so much better just having this stuff around. They also have travel kits and everything. I need to make sure for our trip we bring some. But yeah, Native Path. So you want to go to nativehydrate.com/Daily Clout to learn more. Yeah, and so my wife's right there, and I was hoping she was bringing me some Native Path. She, alas, did not. Maybe she could bring me a bottle of water so I could demonstrate, but that's okay because she's cashing in for the night. That's all right. But yeah, I honestly I couldn't see, so I see her appear outside the studio here, and I was like, oh, she must have heard me, and she brought me some. That's okay. So yeah, Native Path. So you want to. Oh, you really did. Thank you. All right. So this is a whiskey bottle. All right. I'm going to demonstrate for you. No, it's just water. I wanted to make sure there wasn't dish soap in there. All right. So what I like about this is, by the way, guys, if you're tired and you want to go to sleep, that's fine. We always put the recordings on here. So yeah, what I do here, it's just boom. What I also like about this stuff, it doesn't clump at all. There we go. I don't think I have a cover for this, so I'll try to shake it up. And by the way, it's a good whiskey too. It's Glendella Irish whiskey. Not anymore. Now it's Native Path. There we go. Yeah. And so yeah, I just do that every morning and drink it down. And it goes down so easy. Very good. I was very thirsty too. All right, so that's Native Path. Get yours and use Daily Clout as your promotion code. You will get addicted to this stuff. It is awesome. I feel better already. All right. And before I go on to the final thing I want you guys to take a peek at, Our other sponsor is the Wellness Company. I love the Wellness Company. Can never say enough about the Wellness Company. I'm friends with the people over there, but we have their products. We've been with them for a long time. They're wonderful. And be careful, because there's a lot of these online pharmacies now. You got to be really careful with that. I'm actually looking at one right now because I was just curious. Everyone kept telling me about this one company. I won't say who it is, but they just there's some things wrong there. It's just like one of these online pharmacies, but a lot of people are promoting it. I started looking and I was like, wait a minute, like the pharmacist is like 90 and apparently lives in a closed down Kmart. It's weird, but that's a case for another show. I use the Wellness Company. One thing I'm using right now is the Bison Trifecta series. What this is this is bison organs that are freeze-dried. And okay, I'm going to sneeze. It's not because anything else but that powder. So, excuse me, the powder from the native hydrate was floating in the air. So, but yeah, so these are bison organ supplements. This is nature's multivitamin. And they come like this. I take these every morning, all day long. But let me just read it to you. The Bison Trifecta combines a complete blend of nutrients, minerals, along with electrolytes, antioxidants, peptides naturally found in freeze-dried bison organs, heart, liver, and kidney. The powerful trifecta may support cognitive, cardiovascular, lymphatic systems. When taken daily, our Bison Trifecta capsules with powerful natural peptides may also help with collagen production and may support overall immunity, key for a healthy, active lifestyle. They're absolutely correct. I take the full dose every morning, and it's great. And, well, for all you married couples out there, or people who have a significant other, I'll just put it this way, they'll make you strong like bull. I can attest to that. So I won't go into the detail there. I love these things. You want to go to dailyclouthealth.com, use promo code dailyclout for 10% off. This stuff is awesome. I just love it. And it makes sense. It's a genius whoever thought of it, but it's like, the American Indians or the First Nations people, they used to chase buffalo like, dozens of miles in a day. And they would always eat the heart, the liver, and the kidneys. Or just like I heard one show was talking like Jaws, there was Orca, then there was Jaws, and Orca always goes for like the liver. Okay. And it's better. What's in it. It's easy. And I just feel, I don't know, man. I just like my bones are stronger. My muscles are, I can miss a few workouts and I still feel solid. I always have energy. I think clearer, and collagen's important. Production of it. Native Path actually has a really good collagen, so check that out. But go to Daily Clout Health, dailyclouthealth.com, and use promo code DailyClout to get your 10% off. Okay, here we go. So we talked about the architecture in the title, right? So you see the architecture. It's very simple. You have your strategic kind of planning group. They all try to look like they're not affiliated with the government at all. You got your kind of far radicals, okay, the Bob Avakians. Then you got the other ones, which are kind of like intelligent radicals, hardcore neo-Marxists, okay? These are the ones. I'm going to show you why this is important to learn about this last group. This is going to blow your mind. This is an actual case I did. I was hired to do. Can't tell you the client. I was hired to do back during the Ruth sentencing, but we'll get to that in a second. That's how I discovered diffuse fascism. So let me do that. All right, so here we go. It's pretty exciting to share this, actually. I'm not going to share the whole case with you because it's not really prepared. But, all right, so you saw Bob Avakian, and he's talking to some girl, I forgot her name. All right, so here's the other ones. Check these ones out. These people are pretty radical and well connected, especially to the tech world. Okay, this is definitely Avakian. He's something to listen to, but these are the ones to listen to. So let's put it this way. If indivisible is, let's say if indivisible is Qatar, all right, these guys refuse fascism would be Hezbollah, okay? They're all connected, all right? These guys are and these guys are calling for people to get out in the street and law be damned. All right, so here we go. Right away, you're going to see their website. There it is. In the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America. First of all, I don't think any of these people really understand what fascism is. A lot of them probably don't realize that. I had someone accuse me of being a socialist and a fascist, and I said, pick one. And they gave no reason why, of course. Okay, so refusefascism.org. Why am I bringing this one up? Well, this one's important because they actually hosted Bob Avakian on Inauguration Night. Okay, and it's all on their websites. Okay, Refuse Fascism. Who are they, they say? Okay, well, let me show you something. Let's see if you guys in the chat can put this together. Does something about them seem really... Someone said, good evening, Mrs. Bryan. Thank you. I get called Mr. Wolf so many times. It's frustrating, so that's nice to hear. All right, so Refuse Fascism. Let me ask you guys something. Anything about this? The font, the T-shirts, the signs, any of it look familiar to you? Anything? Anything, Bueller? Okay. I probably can't see your chats. What is it? What is it? What is it about it? Okay, well, I will let you read it yourself, but Refuse Fascism, let me just break it down for you. Do you remember the Ruth Sent Us protests? Yeah. So you got Ruth Sent Us. I'm going to show you the actually organization chart I put together for that case. It'll blow your mind. Okay. Okay. Unfortunately, I will have to manually navigate this, but I'm going to share it with you. All right. So share this tab instead. There we go. Okay. So you remember those wild protests after the Roe v. Wade thing? All right. So this is what so you got Ruth Sent Us. Okay. Then here you have Strike for Choice. That was another collective, as they call them, who are all connected to Black Lives Matter, who are all connected to Refuse Fascism, Code Pink, Vigil for Democracy, Wall of Moms, Black Lives Matter. Okay, these are the people, in my opinion. Then there's Ruth Sent Us. Now, Ruth Sent Us, it's a long story. I'm going to have to put out the Substack. I already wrote the report. I just have to sanitize it for the client's sake. Okay, but you see what's happening here. That's the rallying cry. But they have these little things, these like cells, right? Little collectives. Vigil for Democracy, Wall of Moms, Wall of Many, Raging Grannies. These are all the people you may recall. They were out there in their little kerchiefs and all that stuff. So what happens here is, you see, these are the donations, web links. That's how I separated them. All right. And the point is, I'm not going to go through this whole chart because it's really tough to navigate on this screen, but I made this chart. Okay. And you can see down here, oh, there it is. They all get it through their money funnels through Action Network. All right. So, and then of course the Creative Action Network is a larger socialist union called the Nonprofit Professional Employees Union. Okay. They help set this up. Action Network is also associated with Act Blue. All right. So they're the fiscal sponsor for Refuse Fascism and also Rise Up for Abortion Rights. Okay. Now, why am I showing you this stuff about abortion? Because they're all the same people. Okay. They're all the same people. All right. Got Code Pink. If you don't know about Code Pink, go learn about them. I'll talk about them on a show. There's Refuse Fascism. Refuse Fascism. I'm not going to play the videos or anything for you tonight. We don't have time. It's late. But listen to their podcast. You got to get a feel for what they're putting out and what they're making people believe. And it's like Blue Wolf said earlier, redundancy and repetition. Okay. I will make this available in as much as I can to, if you want to write to me, I'll give you the basic version. But again, those violent protests that even almost cost Kavanaugh his life. Remember, they tried to assassinate Kavanaugh. Okay. Why am I showing you this? I'm showing you this because they're so damn organized and networked. It's like Pondo, the tree, that is like a system of roots, and it's all a system of trees with one root structure. That's what you're dealing with here. Okay. You ever wonder why all those protests get the same t-shirts and signs and all that? By the way, these are the ceasefire people. These are the October 7th poor Hamas people. It's all the same people. Okay. It's all the same people. As a matter of fact, one of the people that was pushing the whole, Hamas ceasefire, blah, 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 was Naomi Klein, who's Jewish, which is surprising, but she's friends with Jody Evans, who established Code Pink. Jody Evans went from being against the Iraq war to like, all of a sudden China's good and the Uyghur thing is a hoax. I kid you not. There's actually the New York Times covered, of all people. Okay, so you get up here, and this is an old chart. I'm updating this. We get in here, and this is how they get all of the signs and everything. They send you, once you gain their trust, they will send you a link, okay, to their Google Drive, all right, where you get the sign. Remember these signs here? The big head justice signs outside of those protests? They're all in here. They're all in here, okay? And that's how they roll. Okay. Now, the interesting part is this girl here, her mom, is one of the 3 people who established Vigil for Democracy. Okay. Vigil for Democracy is behind the whole Ruth Sentis thing, which refers to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So Vigil for Democracy is actually an LLC, and a lot of the money flows to Vigil for Democracy. Here it is. Look. Okay. They use Open Collective, vigilfordemocracy.com. I'm not sure if it's still up. I haven't checked this in a couple days. The First Amendment Defense Fund. And then you go here. And then I'm purposely not showing you the members tonight. Okay. But they even have their own PACs. So this is how they roll, guys. It's like they have these huge networks. Okay. And one pops up, the other goes down. But as you can see, if they just basically shift constantly, they shift the focus to the whatever issue supports the Marxist march forward. This is how they do it. They put out tons of these things. They put out the messaging on social media. It's crazy. Like, you can go up here and see they even have, you can go to Open Collective and set up your own collective. A collective is like it's like a cause, and then people can donate to it. It's insane. Okay. But you can go there, people will make donations to you, and you can actually put out, share with your members, like, these are the graphics. We have a deal with Kinko's. They'll get the signs. This is how they do it. It's all done through Open Collective and Action Network, which is affiliated with Act Blue, and obviously they were established by actual socialists. What's interesting about this, what I don't think a lot of people who give these people money realize, is you donate to one, it's the same people that own all of these. It's the same people. Okay. If you connect these charts out, I wish I could share it with all of you. You say they all kind of cross connect to each other. Okay. They're all the same thing. That's why it's so frustrating for us, because we form things and we go away when we're done. We're kind of like the revolutionary soldiers, like, all right, the war's done, let's go back home. And then there's the War of 1812. Like, let's go back out and fight. These people never stop. Okay. And they're constantly, that's why they always are fighting every cause. I'll tell you why, because their leadership knows you got to keep them busy, got to keep them active, because then they're always ready to go. They're always fresh in the fight. They're always ready to, they're professional organizers, protesters, rioters, they're all there. So, and we're cross-pollinating here with the Pulse Club, the Pulse shooting, horrible tragedy down in Florida. We're cross-pollinating with a Republican woman who's behind one of the people, officers at Vigil for Democracy, someone from Facebook who was high level, you name it. Okay, it's all the same people. This is what you got to pay attention to here. And that's why you start looking for the patterns. Okay, so we'll get into that another time. But I just wanted to show you that. So the original point of that is this is not going away. These are still active, by the way, all these collectives. They just keep reusing them. Sometimes they rebrand them. That's why they pop up so quickly. Did you notice how quickly Ceasefire popped up right after October 7th with the Israeli massacre by those dogs, Hamas? They pop up because they just rebrand them and relabel them. And by the way, like if you go to Action Network, they actually have training segments every Tuesday, which I attend. So I can learn. They're using like a CRM style database to organize. Very important to know about. But that's why all the signs look the same. Again, I'm repeating myself, but you get it. There's refuse fascism. So you see the way they all connect? It's all one big network. All right. That's why we're looking at these. Okay. That's why we're looking at these. Oh, hey. Greetings to you, Charg. Oh, wait a minute. Do we know each other, Chargan? I was just in the Netherlands last spring. I can't tell if was my host. If it is, I apologize. I can't really see the picture. It's so small. Love the Netherlands, and I hope you guys are on the same path. Hopefully we are. What a great country, and their government is just screwing them over big time. You can't even own a baseball bat, apparently, in the Netherlands, and it's beautiful over there. I'd never gone. I was so happy to go. You might know it as Holland. Wonderful country. I hope they can take back their nationalism. Seriously, that country is going to get destroyed from within, just like ours can still get destroyed from within. We all got to be on this march. So welcome. I love the Netherlands. Big fan. Can't wait to go back. Really, really enjoyed it over there. I love your woods, man. I took an e-bike through the woods because I didn't have a car. My wife was off doing her thing, and it was beautiful. I mean, it's gorgeous, and the food, oh man, and it's cheap. And eggs aren't like $12.99. There's, it's and if you like salami and sausage and all that, I love that stuff, and cheese. Oh, it's so good. I hope all these countries last because they're so awesome. All right. That's all I have tonight, guys. So in summary, what did we talk about? Talked about great. Donald Trump's doing great, kicking ass. He's taking out their air cover. He's taking out their strategic support. USAID, big deal. I can go into that. I actually have some working knowledge of USAID. A lot of people think they do. I actually do. Not saying I'm better than anyone else, but there's just so many people on the intel side, and then so many of those people who know what covert funding looks like. I got to admit, I was a bit caught off guard that so many domestic things were funded by USAID. I did not see that one coming. I do know that they helped fund the pipeline that Ukraine was building with Poland before Russia invaded Ukraine, which would have stolen Russia's oil and natural gas. Not shilling for Russia, but I am saying that was a USAID project that they took offline right before Russia started bombing them. If you look at those initial charts of the Russia bombing of Ukraine, they were kind of all over the place. Remember that? No, they were hitting all the pipe junctions that I found on the USAID map that they took down. But sorry, USAID, still got my copy. It's in several Western digitals. You'll never get it. All right, so that's a show for another day. Guys, I'm rambling on. It's been a while. I'm out of practice, but it's good to see everyone. My hair is not messy. I just got a quick haircut yesterday, and it's kind of sticking up, but it's a good cut. Any questions before I go at all? So we covered that. What did we cover today? We covered knowing thy enemy, actionable intelligence, the three groups we covered, war, indivisible, .org. We covered refusefascism.org, and we covered the RevComs. All right, RevComs, old school communists, kind of strange people, but very active. Refuse Fascism, way more technical. They also have a lot of voice boxes, a lot of podcasts. If you do, actually, really quick, I forgot to share this. If you are investigating this, if you are investigating everything like I'm hoping people are, because it's just me and it's a lot of stuff to go through. But if you get on here, the person you really want to focus on is right there, Coco Das. You'll see, I don't want to bias you because you should let the facts lead you to theories or thoughts, but Coco Das. That's the one clue I'll give you. That's not her. That's the person you want to take a peek at. She is not a contributing editor. She is, but she's also pretty much owns and established Refuse Fascism. That is their podcast. Very angry podcaster. I'm telling you guys, it's hard to listen to, but just like you really get a sense for what makes these people tick, and it does let you start thinking of strategy to counter them. So again, I'm not saying subscribe or donate or any of that, but if you want to know why they do the crazy things they do, okay, these are some of the voices they're listening to all day long. And they talk about us. It's interesting. They talk about people that don't believe in what they believe in the same way those people talk about them. How can they be so crazy? How do they not think this is a good idea? What do they want to kill themselves like? And don't confuse crazy with stupid. Okay? Do not confuse crazy with stupid. These people know what they're doing. These are organizations. These are corporations. These are profit-making machines. Trust me. And they're not done. They're just getting warmed up. And if anything, if anyone knows the history of communism, some of those hardcore believers love that Donald Trump won because their ranks swell in the face of opposition. Remember that. That's why we patriots need to get that actionable intelligence to fight these enemies of our country, because that's what they are. Indivisible, refuse fascism, RevComs, and anyone else that believes in anything that tears down our system or hurts the American people or hurts the American way of life, they are the enemies of the people, plain and simple. All right? I'll leave you at that. And I mentioned, well, I'm going to leave this up here, but just so you know, I did call this up and I was going to do some real poetic type thing, but I decided not to. I got this stupid ad that won't stay up. Here we go. All right. So this is what I was talking about. This is who we're dealing with right here. Okay. Great article if you get a chance to read it. If you've never heard of Pando, this looks like a forest, but it's actually just one. It's just one tree, and it's one of the oldest and largest organisms on Earth. That's what communists are. They're like a hive. They're like Pando here. They are just one. It's one organism. They kind of lose their individualism. They're against that sort of thing because it's all about the movement. It's the reason why communist governments can be so cruel to their people, because the individual doesn't matter. That's what you're dealing with. So you can stop them by going for the root structure. Good luck finding it. Or you just, clear the forest. Might have to clear it every spring, but hey, clear the forest. That's the strategy I take. So protect America, defend America, and keep going. Don't take a break. Take advice from my man, Blue Wolf, and you will know that you can't take a rest. might have a shorter day, but you can't take a rest. You got to be doing something every day to either get the message out. You can repeat messages from other people, talk to your neighbors who might be on the, fence on things. They're great people to talk to. I've got a lot of like hardcore, crazy Marxists like right in my neighborhood, but one happens to be a good plumber. So I kind of keep an open mind because he's a really good plumber. But also he talks a lot. So I learn a lot. I learn where the local things are happening and, how they think. Okay. How they think. They all have copies, by the way, of Homo Deus and what's that guy's name from the WEF? They all have copies of that. Just putting that out there. All the ones I've got. So, all right, that's it, guys. Got to go to bed. You're welcome. And by the way, Larry says, thanks. Larry, welcome. Okay. And I really small icons, but I think, is that I can't tell what your hat is, but it looks cool. Kind of looks like an Irish flag from here. I just can't tell because my icons are super small down there. And then Blue Wolf says, thank you. Excellent episode. Be well, Brian. God bless and safe travel. God bless all of you. You guys have a great weekend, great day, great whatever. I will be traveling, but I will be broadcasting. I'm not going to tell you where I'm going, but I'm going to a couple places. And hopefully I could broadcast from there. We got some work to do outside of the borders. So we'll talk to you soon. All right. And like I said, check out all our sponsors. We really appreciate it when you do. And we are supported from people like you. So, get healthy and, it keeps the show free at the same time. So can't go wrong. All right, guys. God bless you. And thanks, Donald Trump and everyone, and congratulations on all the nominees that got in. As a matter of fact, the CEO of Rumble is the deputy director of the CIA now. How about that? It's a good day, but don't let your guard down. Okay, don't be like Batman when he fought Bane, and Bane was like, hey, "Victory has made you weak." Don't go down that path. Okay. All right, guys. Have a great night. I will stop rambling, and thanks for joining me on Investigate Everything. This has been Brian O'Shea, and I will talk to you all soon.